If you want to step into leadership with confidence, this episode is your roadmap. Welcome to the Two Marketing Moms podcast. I'm Kelly Callahan Poe, and today's episode is called The Leadership Leap with Rosie Zilinskas. Rosie is a certified high-performance career coach and former Fortune 500 executive who helps women step into leadership with confidence, earn the recognition they deserve, and close the corporate gender gap. Welcome, Rosie.
Hi, Kelly. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to chat with you about all things leadership.
You have a lot of tools that you've created to help women assess if they're promotion ready. Can you walk us through what it measures and how it works?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the tools that I have is a Promotion Readiness Roadmap, and I do have assessment to match that roadmap, but it's the tactical components of, are you ready if that opportunity opens up tomorrow? Do you have your resume and your LinkedIn and your story vault for the interview? All of those components are part of the Promotion Readiness Roadmap. So the assessment tells you how ready are you if that opportunity opens up tomorrow so that you're not scrambling.
So, what are the various elements of the assessment?
So the assessment is basically asking you if you actually have that resume ready. Do you have a vault of stories, a compilation of stories that you can start pulling from if you're asked any questions? What type of wording are you going to be using? We always talk about crafting your script, creating a 90-day plan to bring into the interview. So all of those are the tactical components. And then there's a couple of mindset ones like, how often do you speak up if there is a question? How often do you go and ask for feedback or advice? So those are some of the tactical things that are part of the roadmap and the assessment.
What are the key areas that women need to address before becoming promotion ready?
Yeah. So, interesting enough, I have a membership and I did a training the other day on the hierarchy of needs, by Maslow.
Yeah.
And one of the things that is really important for women to understand is that if you're in some kind of, I'm going to even call it like a crisis, it could be a mini crisis, it could be a major crisis. You kind of have to get yourself, your house, your brain in order before you can start seeking that promotion, because I've had several traumas throughout my life, and when you're in that, what a lot of people refer to as the dark night of the soul, where you're just like
Yes.
not even yourself, you're not there. That is not the time for you to start working on your career. The time for you to start working on your career is when you actually feel that you have, the majority of your life, your bills, your family, yourself, you're kind of in a good spot. And then you're seeking fulfillment. You're seeking the next level up to grow. That's the time to start seeking some personal and professional development for sure.
And you had, in essence, 5 key areas that women need to address. Can you go through those 5 key areas?
Yeah, so, well, there's a couple of things. So first, I think I'd like to talk about the 4 core wounds, if you don't mind, because
Yeah,
I think
please.
it's kind of in line. So, and I have done energy healing before. I'm a meditator. So, and as I talk to more and more clients, it's so interesting because a lot of times, Kelly, we, go through these like problems and situations in our life and we try to push our emotions away or we stuff them down. And through the work that I've been doing, I realize that there's kind of 4 different buckets that people in general fall into. But really, we need to take the time to feel our feelings so that you can identify these wounds. And so the first core wound is, I'm not worthy. And it could be like, I just don't feel that I'm going to get the job. I'm already the manager and I'm getting some imposter syndrome, that kind of thing. So a lot of people fall in that I'm not worthy. and I'm just not going to do anything for myself. They either discount themselves, they defeat themselves, or they disqualify themselves. So that's kind of the first bucket. The second bucket is the I'm not lovable or I'm not likable. So I call that the popularity blocker. So a lot of times you're not, the golden boy or girl at work, and then well, if they're always promoting like the popular people, so I'm not even going to bother. So that's the popularity blocker. Then the one that is significant is the skills blocker, because a lot of times we're doing the work, we're doing really good work, but we don't feel ready to advocate for ourselves, meaning going and asking for that promotion or what else can I do in my work. And so you think that you need to do more work or get more certifications or more degrees before you're ready to go out and start advocating for yourself. And then the last one is the visibility blocker. And this is also one that holds women back significantly, because you could be doing all of those things and you're advocating for yourself, but you're not putting yourself out there. You don't want to do a presentation or a training, or you don't want to do, commenting on social media, things like that. So in order for you to understand how to elevate yourself, you first need to understand yourself and figure out if you're falling into one of these, core wounds, so that you can figure out how to work on yourself. And then one of the things I tell my clients all the time is the more you are able to know about yourself, who you are, what you actually think about some things, because this happens to me all the time. You hear all this stuff in the world, and then I sit there and I'm like, okay, what do I really think about that? How do I really feel about that? And then I can speak to it. So a lot of it is like getting to know yourself so that you can show people how you can help them solve their problems through your knowledge and skills. And that's when you're starting to show your value. Because a lot of times, well, you got to show your value, you got to show your worth. Well, but how? How do you do that? And how you do that is, again, you tell people how you can help them solve their problems by using your knowledge and your skills. So I'll pause there.
That's great. There was a stat on your website, which I believe is one of the worth blockers, and I thought that stat was really powerful. And it talked about the fact that only 20% of adult women never negotiate at work. Can you tell us a little
Yes.
bit more about that, which is kind of surprising?
Yeah, and that is a horrifying stat, because yes, only about 20% of women, but you know what that translates into? All the women that are not negotiating lose about $2 million worth of income. And this is like investing it, through an entire lifetime. So if you're
Wow.
like in your mid 20s and you don't negotiate over your entire career, that could translate up to having $2 million less than your male counterparts, just by not negotiating. And then the other one, and actually, I was trying to do some research on this statistic, because everybody always talks about Hewlett Packard and how they did a study on their staff, and 50%, or men apply for jobs having 50% of the skills on the description, and then women wait till they have 100%. And
Yes.
I can't find any factual information, but it's been a really good anecdotal story to talk about, because it may not be factual from Hewlett Packard, but it's kind of true when you start seeing how men just go and apply, and then women wait to have all the skills on the job description. And then I do a lot of keynoting as well. And the two things that I tell them that's a consequence of that is that, number one, by the time you go and apply for the job, it's gone. Because if people are applying at 50% of the skills, then it's gone. But the most importantly, the second thing is that if you have all the skills on that job description, then you're overqualified. Because if you know how to do every single thing on the job description, then what challenge are you going to have? You're not going to have any growth. You're not going to have any, thing to look forward and learn. So, one of the things that I do in my keynotes is, okay, decide right now what percentage of when you're looking at to apply for a job, what percentage of all of the descriptors on there are you going to apply? Is it going to be 50, 60, 70, whatever? So I tell them, choose a percentage so that the next time that you see a job description, you're not intimidated when you don't have, 3 or 4 of the requirements on there.
Let's chat a little bit about those 5 things that women need to address before getting promotion ready.
I'm going to talk about them in phases. So, and actually with my membership, every quarter of the year, I talk about the phases that they need to work on. So the very first phase of the Promotion Readiness Roadmap is that they need to aspire. What is it that they aspire to do? And it really comes down to, when you're at work, what's the 1 or 2 things that you kind of get lost in or that you're looking forward to working on? And then we kind of go into what are your core values? What is it that really lights you up? What is it that, like, are you in the right job currently? Are you in the right company? So do a little bit of personal assessment for yourself. The second phase is basically all of those assessments, your skills, identifying all of your skills, your knowledge skills and your transferable skills. But then what is your personal value proposition? So like for me, it's like, I empower women in the corporate world to advance their careers with intention and confidence. So a statement like that you can easily tell people during networking events, during, conversations. That's also when you need to work on your resume and your LinkedIn. And we also look at all of the accomplishments that you've done throughout your career and turn those into actionable stories that people can relate to and engage. And that's when you can actually easily look at your story vault right before an interview and then pick one of those stories. The third phase is the advice phase. And this is where you go and seek feedback. And a lot of times people are like, oh my gosh, there's no way. Feedback is awful, but I tell people feedback is fuel, because that's exactly where you want to go and solicit, what do I do well and what can I do better? And then talk to senior people, and they don't have to be like senior executives or managers. It could be people that have been in the job for 5 or 10 years longer than you, and just ask them, how did you get to where you are and what advice could you give me? So you're kind of seeking that mentorship, that advocacy. And then the last phase is advertise. So this is when you actually start telling people, you need to go and tell people, I'm interested in. And that was kind of part of my story. At 40 years old, I'm sitting at my desk and I'm just waiting for something to happen, and then nothing ever happened. And then the fifth area is advocacy, where you're advocating for yourself, you're asking for specific opportunities. And then we're in the fourth quarter of the year right now, Kelly. And a lot of people take their foot off the pedal, but this is a time, especially after Thanksgiving, when things quiet down, for you to start thinking about what you want, but start having those quiet conversations with people in the office that, hey, we have a little bit of downtime. Can we talk about this? But that advocacy phase is such an important phase. So with the advertising, you're like telling people, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. With advocacy, you're getting the ability to have people in your corner who can actually champion you. You champion yourself, and then also you champion others. That's another big piece too. So those are the different phases of the roadmap. And people are like, well, I don't have time to do all that. 2 hours a month. 2 hours a month helps you move all of these things forward. And it may not be, they may not be perfect, but you at least have an idea of what you're going to do and say throughout the year.
That makes a lot of sense. And I've talked a lot about that in kind of personal branding podcasts that we've had in the past, in terms of coming up with your brand statement. Ideally, it should be in some 10 words or less, for example. Mm-hmm. And it's easily rememberable, easily repeatable, and you should be able to say that statement, not just in an interview, but it's on all of your social media channels, right? And it's a core focus of how you represent yourself.
Exactly.
So what is really holding women back from getting leadership roles? Kind of the obvious one, the known ones, and the not so obvious ones.
The very first thing is just getting to know themselves. Because if you don't know yourself, you're not going to be able to explain that to somebody else. So, the very first thing, what do you like? What are you good at? What do you want to do? What's your big picture? What's your why? Well, almost kind of like, what is your purpose for existing in the world? And not many people, I should say, not a ton of people know like their whole purpose, but you have a purpose in your career, in your life. Like, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
And as you're starting to very organically explain that to people, that's when you can advocate. And that's the second thing. So the first one is you don't know yourself well enough to explain how you help others. And then the second one is that you can't tell others how you are helping them solve their problems. And so those two things are so key when you're going out there and advocating for yourself. So I would say if there's anything that you need to or that you want to start working on is those two things. It's like, what are your skills? What is your knowledge? How can you help? And then how can you explain it to other people so that they perceive the value that you're bringing to them?
Do you have any other strategies to help women advocate for themselves at work?
Yeah. So aside from the Promotion Readiness Roadmap, I'm also a certified performance coach. And now that's very focused on mindset. And I love doing this program. And all the roadmap is awesome. It's cool because we get all those tactical things. The mindset, that's where you really start unraveling the person. And we do talk about clarity, energy. We talk about influence. That's a big one. Productivity. So all of those things, every session that we have, I have a series of questions, and it's through Brendan Burchard. Brendan Burchard is a huge worldwide motivational speaker. And, so he's created this amazing framework. And every session we get together, I have a set of questions that I ask my clients. And the coaching really comes in. So very easy example. The other day, one of my clients said, my little job. And I was like, whoa, hold up, hold up. I'm like, why did you say little? And she's like, what? I'm like, you said my little job. She's like, no, I didn't. I'm like, yes, you did. And so, those are those beliefs that you think about yourself that may not necessarily be true, that we're making ourselves small. We're making ourselves feel that we're not adding value. And through the certified high performance coaching that I do, that's all mindset. And we literally start unraveling all our thoughts and our ideas. And people really, it's incredible. It's 3 months and we meet once a week. And at the end of the 3 months, the person is like transformed. It is a beautiful thing to see as a coach, because every session that I see, and it's always funny because every session that we have, it's like it almost fits the perfect right time in the individual's life. So it always feels really cool. But when women, and I've coached women with this, when they're done with the program, they're like, I have a second client. She's like, I want more. So we're now doing the second phase of the high performance coaching. But every session they get an aha about themselves. And that's the cool thing, where they're like, oh, I didn't realize that I wasn't trusting my team as much, or I didn't realize that I felt humiliated when I got laid off. And all of those feelings and emotions are stored in your body, and then they can translate into all kinds of, havoc for your body. So certified high performance coaching is phenomenal.
As you've gone through your coaching in the last, how many years have you been coaching?
With this program, I've only been certified for 2 years. So that's 2 years, yeah, for CHPC.
What is the number one challenge that you hear over and over again from women?
Uh, Rosie, can you help me gain confidence so that I can advocate for myself? That's what it boils down to. It's that I want to advance in my career. I don't know how to do it. I don't have the confidence to do it. And through high performance coaching, it's all about confidence building. So I had a client that did both the tactical and the strategic, and it was incredible. So she got a job in HR. She loves her job, and it's like I show up so much with so much more confidence. And when I have a problem, I kind of go through all of the lessons that we did, and so it's really amazing to see someone grow and evolve and feel like, hey, I can really hold my own because of this coaching.
I think these tips are really helpful to help women advocate for themselves and make their own leadership leap. Thanks to Rosie for joining us. Find her contact information at twomarketingmoms.com or wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe and share. Thanks for joining.